You make that your rental. You're now building your investment portfolio, and now you're going into your upgrade home, the right sizing, because now you have too many children. And it's just like, and you're having these conversations, and Harvey has them too. Like, we take pride in what we're doing because you can't just look right at your nose, right? You have to be looking down the road. And what are you going to do to set yourself up for success now and in the future? And if you're trying to acquire, 10 properties in 5 years, you have to have a game plan and you have to have the right team in place. And all of it starts with a conversation, which I know you know that, Nikki.
Yeah.
All right, 248-539-9797. We'll take you all day long here up till 10 o'clock. Of course, Pat Caputo will be following up. We got tons of sports coming up here, of course, following our show. The home purchase activity, they say it's down like 41%. It's weird because that's a huge number. But
is that national, though, or is it?
It's more national,
okay,
yeah. And maybe here, and we always talk about real estate, it's more regional. It's not really what's going on everywhere. But I got some stats for you. We'll talk about that a little bit later. As much as they say that it's down, Becky makes mention all of these people wanting to buy. Couples are coming together. People want to own homes. They're not going to live in their parents' basement forever. They might be just getting out of that apartment situation. And what really brought all this on, Becky, and we know it, rents started going up. Everyone thought, hey, I'm going to become a landlord and buy up all these homes.
Yep.
And corporations, we were fighting to get our buyers' homes against these corporations. Well, they drove the rents so high that people are like, I'm not throwing my money out the window anymore.
Well, it's still happening. I mean, I have, people that are, I guess the best way to say it is Michigan and our area, it's very affordable. We're not priced out like New York and Colorado, and where it's just you're out of touch a little bit with the market values out there, whereas people from the outside are now coming in and investing in Detroit. I have an investor who's trying to gobble up all of the properties he can from California. And then you're competing. It's the same price points that you're competing with these first-time home buyers. And it's real. They're going from where they were really heavily invested in Georgia and Texas, and now they're coming into Michigan. And I bring this up because if you're not throwing your hat in the ring for home ownership for yourself, if you're not buying, you're renting. And everybody knows that. And if you're not paying your own mortgage, you're paying somebody else's, whether it's in an apartment or if it's a single family home, whatever it is. But you need to realize that there is, that's the American dream is home ownership all the time. And it's never going to change. But you need to start that conversation because it's a lot. If you can afford $1,500 in rent, we're going to show you how you can afford $1,500 for a house and get down payment assistance probably.
All right. I don't know if you guys love the 2020 market, the 2021 market, maybe the 2022. You can pick your favorite market. I don't know. It's getting a little out of control for buyers.
May I share a fun fact?
Oh, go.
Yeah.
So Nikki was in the market like right as the world was shutting down, and I was her realtor.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Emily's my inspiration for my career change.
But it was just, honestly, she was like the first closing I had when like the world, we couldn't go to closings.
Yeah.
And so she was very brave, and she was like, oh, we're going to do this, and we're doing a walkthrough like virtually and things like that. So, what do you think now being on the other side of things?
Well, I think you did a really good job walking me through it because I was newly divorced. I had no idea. I'd never purchased a home on my own. I didn't know what I could afford. Emily, I was like in good hands from the get-go, from the first time I looked at a house. And then just the market being how it was and not, I remember it being, there were several houses on the market, but still there was a lot of offers coming in. So I think I had written like 2 offers, and then one got accepted, one didn't. And it was all, it all happened how it was supposed to. But when COVID was happening, our closing, it was outside. I was like in a car, and the title company was outside with a mask. And
this is weird, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. And then I did my final walkthrough, and I was on the phone with Emily, and she's like,
because I was forbidden from going to the
Forbodden,
yeah.
Forbodden.
Yeah,
the world had shut down. It was like the scariest thing you did, and then the smartest thing you did.
Yeah.
Yes.
But she was like,
Go ahead, tell me the end of your story.
Oh, she was like, look at the water softener. And I was like, it looks good. Like, I didn't know.
You're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. It's like those pictures, like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah. Right. I felt like I was on Catch Me If You Can. I was like, I concur, but.
Without getting too personal, and we don't have to look up your numbers, just give me an idea what you purchased that house for and then what it would sell for today. That would be a good, something to throw out there. What's that difference there?
I got it for $420, and it was slightly under asking. I feel like it would sell in the mid fives at least today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've still got a great deal. And it's a wonderful neighborhood, awesome neighbors.
So what you're hearing is timing is everything, right? You can do the right thing at the wrong time, or you can do the right thing at the right time, right? It's all about doing things at the right time. But what is really cool is that we're still in an appreciating market. So you bought right before it just went crazy and everyone had FOMO because, hats off to you because, agents during that time, so 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, actually, you had to pivot. You had to learn how to readjust and how are we still going to, sell these homes, show these homes. And in that moment, who you work with 1,000% mattered because you couldn't even go in there. You couldn't see each other, and then for her to give you such an amazing experience to now that you wanted to, change your occupation to that, because I feel like sometimes we all fall into this industry a little bit, but it's either sometimes you're pushed by a bad experience and your mission is to be like, I don't ever want anyone to have this experience, or a good experience because you want to push that forward. So I love that story.
All right, shift happens. You said it, Becky. 248-539-9797. We got tons to share with you. Come on back and join us. Alrighty, welcome back to the show. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We are powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2289, Equal Housing Lender. I'm Harvey Freed, Becky LA, top 1% of all originators in the U.S. And, of course, we're joined by Emily Ford and Nikki Warner from Morgan, Milzo, and Ford. Of course, this name has been, ever since I got into mortgages, I lived out in the Waterford area. My first house was off of Elizabeth Lake, so I'm really from your area. And all my houses that I bought, actually, other than one other one, have always been in the Lakes area. And it just keeps growing. And that's the part I love so much about it, Emily, is that everything's starting to move our way. Mm-hmm. People want new construction. And I see that there's not a lot out there. Independence Township, the areas near you are really springing up.
They really have. I mean, we were so fortunate with the changes that have happened in the last couple of 3 years that people wanted to come to our area that never wanted to before, because they wanted property and they wanted to be on the lakes and they could, work remotely. So they had different options, and we've always been kind of that furthest northern suburb. People are like, oh, it's so far. And but we've been so fortunate that we've had so many people want to live where we live.
Mm-hmm.
For lots of great reasons. Yes. Not only they have great schools out there, you got the Flint Bishop Airport not too far away, Oakland U, all the schools, the communities, the history in the school districts are just so strong out that way. And like you said, they like the lakes area, they like a little bit more open land, and you're that much closer to being up north, which is really cool because you're not really that far, just in the northern area of Oakland County.
And we have our downtown area, I refer to it as Mayberry, affectionately. It's like blink and you miss it, but it's super charming. And Pine Knob, Nikki's kids are skiers and snowboarders. I mean, what could be better than you're 5 minutes away from a ski hill and concerts, a music amphitheater? I mean, we're kind of a little spoiled. Like, I think we forget sometimes how lucky we are that we live where we do, but there's nowhere I'd rather live. That's where I'm from, and that's where I live now.
Well, if you can't get
we're
your
up at Pine Knob all the time, like because like I'm teaching my daughters how to snowboard, right? We're going on our third season, and I'm like,
yeah.
I feel like I'm always teaching someone how to snowboard, but it made me have a new affinity for winter. Like that's why I love where we live, because you can drive 4 hours and you feel like you're like, if you're at Torch Lake or Higgins Lake, it's the most beautiful waters you've ever seen. And then at the same time, you can go skiing at these, at Boyne and Pine Knob and Mount
Right.
Holly, and then you also can just be on a random lake anywhere really, and it just allows for that, like that 365 really enjoyment of being in Michigan. I mean, don't get me wrong, I went on my honeymoon last year, and I, for the first time in my life, like I went somewhere during the winter months, and I was like, oh man, I like missed that vitamin D there for a minute, but because this was now that I didn't go this year, but I love the fact that you can do anything you want here in Michigan, and you don't have just one set season all the time.
Yeah, having kids, it's nice just to have something to do where they can get some energy out and have fresh air, and there's a bar there, so it's always
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's something for parents
Yeah,
to do. But
right?
you guys work all 5 counties also, so I don't want to pinpoint just that one area. You guys work all 5 counties, but again, you have expertise in some of the different areas in northern Oakland County, which is really special, and you help so many families out that way. So lots of fun. And again, I still like that area, and I see more and more of my friends starting to really sell their houses sort of down here in the southern Oakland County and saying, you know what, I want to get on that water, and that's really a nice lifestyle.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of transplants, and frankly, not to, make it about Nikki and I, but like you, Harley,
Make it about you guys.
but we've actually grown up. We've lived on the lakes for a long time, both of us, and on different lakes. So we have kind of like a unique, perspective to be able to share with people. Okay, this is exactly, what to look out for. Nikki actually has a good story. She just is kind of working on.
Well, I
Yes, we were talking about this before the show,
yeah.
and so this is, I'll do a little prelude for you. So, Nikki's going to tell the story because obviously she's experiencing it. But again, this goes into like who you're working with matters. And sometimes, if you just hire just anyone to list your home, that affects the buyer. And, you kind of got to flush it out as a buyer's agent to really get that proper information, right?
Right. I mean, I think like personally, if I list something, I want to know as much as possible about the listing. I do my homework. But with buyers, it's like you almost have to do the same thing. So I have a client who's been looking for a lakefront for a while. His budget's around like 400. So, there's not a ton of options to choose from. So we found this house in Lake Orion, or no, White Lake, Mandon Lake. Anyways, great house. It was kind of like a remodel, but it's on a canal, and he is like, I want to make an offer, but it's all dependent on if I can put a dock in, because I want to make sure I can, utilize the lakefront. So we walked the property yesterday, all bundled up. Cannot, tell, because it's pretty overgrown, if you could install a dock. So Emily helped me find someone who installs docks. I sent him the aerial view. And meanwhile, I'd reached out to the listing agent just to see if she could ask the seller if he's ever had a dock there. If he did, how was it installed? Did he have a boat? Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, the dock person said they could come out and, look at the property, but maybe there'd have to be a seawall, which is pretty costly, installed. And the listing agent said, no, there is a dock, and it's already there. It's attached to the seawall. And so I talked to my buyer, and he's like, I didn't see a dock. And I was like, I didn't see one either. So I looked at the aerial view, and there was a dock in the neighbor's property. So I reached out to the listing agent just to see if that was the dock that he was talking about. And her response was just to book another showing and to go look again.
Well,
So is it really the neighbor's dock?
Well, that's the thing. I just want to know if she could ask the seller if that was the dock they were talking about, or if there's another dock that might be under the growth that we didn't see. But she just
That lack of communication.
Yeah, she just told us to go back out and look again.
Wait a sec. Nikki, are we making an offer on this house? Because that agent could be listening. So we want the house. Wait, let me just help
He
you out
wants
here.
the
We'll
house.
take the house. We
He's
just want to make sure
ready
we can
to
put
make
a
his
boat
move,
there.
and he's
Yeah.
a cash buyer. So I feel like,
on
if
now.
we can get him the info. So I actually might go back out today and walk the property myself just to.
So
do a
okay, so
double
are
check.
you seeing a lot of that? So so let's just set aside the dock, right? So that
Yeah.
lack of communication on their side, because I feel like most people are evolving to that point of you need to reach across the aisle, you need to be able to shake the hands and kiss the babies, because that's really what we're all here to do. We're all on the same team, trying to achieve the same results for all of our clients. But are you guys sensing a lot of that lack of communication from sometimes a listing agent, where they just are not helpful in those situations, and they feel like they're like, oh, well, you're going to offer or you're not, and we're going to win this. And, they kind of feel entitled. I guess I don't know what word to put on that.
I mean, it's very rare. Most of the agents I work with have been amazing. I do feel like now that the market seems to be shifting a bit, you kind of have to do more homework because it's not like you're getting like 7 offers the day after you list the house that are all over asking with appraisal guarantees and waived inspections. So it's almost like, personally, I want to have that information handy and ready and my homework done. So if someone is working with someone that wants to make a move quick, I can get them that and they can be first in.
And we call it spoon feeding, you know, like
Yeah.
what can I tell you? Like, I want to have everything at my fingertips. And I also have someone, I always say I have someone for pretty much anything. So when Nikki and I were in the office last night late, I said, hey, call, you know, this gentleman who I know owns a dock company. He lives on a lake. He's going to be able to tell you, and he's going out today.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Get some
So-
professionals out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to be that one-stop shop, but like what you know, to that point is you can't go based off of assumptions, right? Because as you know, like you can have someone that's listing the house and they have no idea what's happening.
Right.
Is that dock really on someone else's parcel and they just had a really cool neighbor that was like willing to use it, and but that's not yours at the end of the day? And what if the new neighbor doesn't like the existing neighbor or whatever's happening? So you have to do your due diligence because obviously no one, you know, like as an agent, you have to constantly like do the work, but then you also have to do the work on top of the other person's.
You don't have buyer's remorse, that's for sure. And that's why really buying a house maybe this year could even be better than the last couple of years because you have that little extra time where your agent can dig in a little bit deeper. Again, just even when we talk water or lake properties, like Becky said, you could have a really cool neighbor and they're like, oh, don't worry about it and stuff. Then they sell and the game changes quickly. Also, the lake could be electric, only maybe electric motors out there, no gas. You maybe, you know, different rules, different strokes for different folks. Everything's a little different out there. You got to do that extra homework. And today's market just allows for that time.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going the extra mile, you know, and even I had a listing that I suggested they list their house. You know, they were thinking, well, wait till, like, you know, Becky said, wait till March. And I said, no, like, this is the time if you want to sell. But even now, so we're just really adapting. We're always like, kind of like you said, pivoting because for a while we didn't necessarily have to have homes, you know, staged or, you know, minimized. You know, I'd go in there and be like, I've never told so many people in short order, you don't have to do anything to your house. They were like, looked at me like, are you serious? And I'm like, yes, you don't have to do anything.
Okay.
But like Nikki said, now it's like, sometimes I'm taking my stager gal with me, like on the first appointment. I'm like, here she is. We're going to get a game plan together. And it's just about being professional. And like you said, pulling in those other professionals that are going to give people the best advice.
I think it's back to basics.
Yep.
What is old is new again. And I kind of actually been looking forward to a market like this because I do feel like there was just a lot of people getting in that just, oh, I can just do this. It's so easy. And it's not. Not everyone can be successful on the mortgage side of things, on real estate side of things. And, you know, we're going to see this little bit of a flush out. You know, they say that right now, you know, 30% of agents are going to get out entirely, 60% are going to struggle, and then the 10%, like yourselves, are the ones that are invested in their clients. You are the ones that are going to shine through because people are going to see the difference, they feel the difference, and you hear the difference when you're communicating with your clients, right? They see you doing those due diligence and they see you making that phone call and they're like, oh, go out there and do another listing. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway. I was just hoping you could throw me a bone, but clearly you're not educated on the property, so I'm going to go ahead and do the work for all of us, right?
That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's how you have to get the job done, though.
And my mom, I hate to say it, but it goes, like you said, Becky, back to basics. My mom always told me from day one in real estate, you have to do everyone's job.
Yes.
So I learned that like when I was, you know, young.
Girl,
and I
you
was
are
like,
preaching
oh,
to the
really?
choir.
You know?
I'll put on my processing hat, my underwriting
For
hat.
sure.
I'm like, I'll help you with
Right.
the purchase agreement if you don't know. I was helping someone last night. I'm like, this is how we're going to do a concession offer, newer agent. But because we have that expertise, right? And Harvey and I always say, like, we are experienced we are experienced in our field, and we're creating experiences for our buyers and our sellers and our borrowers, whether they're refinancing, whether it's their first home, their or their fifth home. And it doesn't get old. You always remember anytime you bought a house, you always remember every time you refinance a house. And it's really about what do you remember about it? Was it an enjoyable experience or was it chaotic? And I'm
Exactly.
peace over chaos all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Make it smooth and easy. Yeah, I mentioned actually on the podcast that I'm working with one of my youngest buyers ever, and it's really exciting. Not even 20 years old yet, buying her first home. And, you know, how much, you know, she just like loves the house and she's so thankful. And then I have someone else who's 24, who's not even diving in, who, you know, again, a few years older, should be a little bit more understanding and try to get that education piece underneath them. And sometimes it's a little bit more of a challenge. And we want to go back to what your mom said, actually, Emily, is really the basics. and really educating and just slowing it down a little bit. I actually wrote down that's what the show I wanted to do today. We talk about funds to close. We talk about program and the mortgage that fits your needs. And then, of course, presenting that to the seller and having it all done so that when I say to Emily Ford, Emily, this client's approved, ready to go, we're going to close in 30 days, that truly happens. That's what our industry is all about, really, right now in 2023.
Right, and you and Harvey, you and Becky could tell us better than we could say it, but Nikki and I always say it's like things change in the lending industry on a daily basis. So I always say defer the experts. I'm like, I'm in tune and I'm trying to keep my finger on the pulse, but call your lender and say, okay, what's the best avenue? Because just like the two of you were talking about before the show started, it's like there's so many different options for people, but you've got to be real adept as a lender to just like figure out the best avenue.
Yeah, it's not soup du jour, as like we like to say it. Everyone's situation is different, and your home buying, what loan you got is not going to be the same one that I would get or you would get, Emily. So it really does matter in talking it out, and you can't fake it till you make it on the lending side. I will say that. And I know you guys see a lot of those pre-approvals out there that you're like, I'm going to question, so I'm going to call and make sure this is a real pre-approval out here.
Yeah.
All right, we're up against our second break here. When we come back, all of your calls, 248-539-9797. We'll be back. All righty, welcome back to the show, 9:29. If you're just joining us, it's February 4th already. That's right, our first show in February of 2023.
January was the longest year ever.
Longest year
I feel
ever.
that.
I like that one. And this cold weather is about to give us a break here. I know the weather's going to spruce up a little bit here. A little rough out there lately.
Although you're escaping tomorrow.
I did.
believe-
I know.
We don't
We're
tell anyone
envious.
that, but yeah, definitely going to get out of here for some warmer weather. But again, we love Michigan, and we do mortgages, and I'm glad you brought it up because we do so many second homes now. And again, we talk about these windows of opportunity here in even Southeast Michigan. Same thing with Florida. If you think you're going to wait till springtime to buy down there, well, prices aren't going down at all. And we see that in all parts of the country, Beck. I got people in South Carolina and Georgia and Texas. You name the warm destination, including Arizona, they want to buy.
Yeah, like what I really pride ourselves on. A lot of people don't know, but we are a national lender, so we are licensed in all 50 states. You know, obviously as a loan officer, you have to be individually licensed. So I'm personally licensed, I think, in like 15 states. Harvey's got multiple states, but so we are in tune nationally. So we know what's happening in Texas and in Colorado and the Carolinas, but we're very hyper focused, obviously, in our backyard, Michigan. And so when you hear a lot of this stuff on the news, right, the doom and gloom, it's these like national numbers. And as soon as you hear it online or read it online, it's expired, right? That's like, that's misinformation. We've already moved on from that. And, you know, we actually, you know, the Fed, they just announced another rate hike of another 0.25%, but it actually, interest rates pulled back because people think that the interest rates are tied to what the Fed is doing. And when I say the interest rates, I'm talking about mortgage rates. They are not. Typically, a mortgage rate it's going to follow what inflation is doing. So as we are seeing inflation pull back, that's why you're also seeing these interest rates settle down a little bit. So they're not going to the moon, right? They were higher, but the rates that we saw in the last 2 years, we were just spoiled. I mean, they weren't really real. It was just artificially deflated, you know, over the last couple of years, and you either took advantage of it or you didn't. And you can now leverage that property eventually to be a rental home or a second home for somebody else.
Well, it doesn't make for sexy radio at all, Becky, but the LLPAs, the loan level pricing adjustments, are coming out too. So again, the folks that lend the money, Fannie Mae and Freddie
what's the
Mac.
LLPA, right? So people don't know what that is.
Let's give them a little bit of that. Well, I'll give you a little bit of that. Well, it's going to cost you a little bit more if you're purchasing a house and you have bad credit. There you go. So if you're putting down 5% and your credit score is over 760, well, it's no big change. But if your credit score is 680, 690, and we're just squeaking you into a conventional mortgage, you're going to get nailed on the interest rate. It's going to cost you more to get that program. So it goes for everyone. Every lender across the United States is going to be feeling this burden. And actually, Becky, it makes FHA and VA loans sort of back into play a little bit because FHA is not going to have these same loan level pricing adjustments that we're seeing right there on the conventional side.
Yeah, and I do want to add to this because I looked at these. They're called loan level price adjustments, right? So what does that mean? It's your loan amount will affect your interest rate. Your credit score affects your interest rate. You know, there's multiple factors. So when you're just calling around saying, what's your rate, because people don't know what, you know, not intelligent questions to ask, but that's the only question they know how to ask, right? But you can't just spout off a rate over the phone without knowing what your credit score is, what are you putting down. But one of the things that I noticed is that 80% down, so if you're 20% down, so people think I have to put 20% down, that area actually is going to have worse pricing than if someone's putting 5% down. And that's not coming from, it's not a capital mortgage funding thing. That's a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac thing. So the point that I'm bringing up is sometimes that $30 that you're paying in the private mortgage insurance or the PMIs, whatever one identifies it as, that $30 that's going to save you $20,000 up front is actually going to give you a better interest rate a little bit. And in turn, you can always keep that money in your pocket and then put bigger chunks down as you're moving forward to get rid of it. So there's a different ways you can skin the cat to achieve that financial goals. But we're here to analyze the situation and we do take time to do it. We're not just going to take 5 minutes with you. We actually really have long, lengthy conversations about what's going to be the best for our clients.
Yeah, we talk about the debt to income ratio too, Beck. So it falls into play there. Families with over a 40% back end ratio. So sometimes this happens. One of the buyers we leave off the transaction. And again, it because your spouse, it could be not making a lot of money, maybe even has some bruised credit in the past. So by eliminating them, your back end ratio is a little bit higher. We know you can afford the house. We're just not using your wife, your whatever the situation is, the other co-signer's income. So again, without getting into full detail, loans are always changing. The mortgage industry, the real estate industry, it's always changing, sometimes for the good and sometimes for the bad.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've been on a roller coaster over the last couple of years. I mean, and I'm really empathetic to the buyers as well. I mean, you know, I feel like, you know, I know you guys, if you're looking at houses, you're putting in these offers, you've been through the ringer, and there's that buyer fatigue a little bit that's happening already because people got out because it was too competitive. Now they're getting back in and it's already becoming too competitive. So, you know, we understand. And if you're a first time home buyer and you're now competing with people that have cash and they're trying to, you know, build up their investment portfolios, you know, we understand. But, you know, when whose name's on that pre-approval sometimes is going to help you shine. And I know there are some buyers or some sellers that want to see their home go to a family. They want to see someone that's going to, you know, care for that home, not just, you know, rent it out. And, you know, so like just stay in there because the right home is going to come along. But we want to hear from you, you know, so give us a call, 248-539-9797. If you're out there and you're trying to buy a house and you've been beat out, we want to hear just what your experience has been. And maybe we can kind of give you some, you know, some tips and, you know, to kind of get you to the next level because you just got to stay in there and work at it.
Isn't it always about communication, Emily?
It
I mean, at
is.
the end of the day, we got buyers and sellers. Well, let's go back to the nuts and bolts of this whole industry. We've got wonderful buyers. They're ready to go. They're excited. And now it all really falls down to the communication, getting them to find the right house, and then the communication between the sellers and you guys.
Agreed. And also about perspective, like the two of you were saying. I mean, it's communication, it's educating. I feel like we've talked to more clients, than ever. We've had so many conversations because they're trying to figure out what's the best time, like Becky was saying. Is this the time? But like you mentioned, Becky, and it's something I harp on all the time, is affordability. In other states, people think, oh, the home values have gone up so much in our area. Well, we were undervalued. I really
Yep.
do think we were. And, certain, forces, low interest rates and lack of supply push them up. But like you said, Harvey, I've had so many people come to me. I just sold a property to, I was a listing agent. The gal was a first-time buyer. She was probably almost 50 from what I could gather. She was buying her first property. It was completely move-in ready, a move-in ready condo for $255. She was over the moon, had been renting her whole life.
Yeah.
Just like there's so many good stories. And, she just couldn't believe what she could buy.
That's a great story.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was her rent was going up, so she was faced with that, So I just see a lot of opportunity. I think we all do, that this is just a different time, but there's so many great things that are happening.
Yeah,
So,
and it all starts with that conversation. And like I actually had I have an older client. It was her first time buying a home, but it was also the first time anyone in her anyone has really owned something, and it was this big moment, and it was like something that she never thought she could do, and to be attached to that milestone moment, it's like our own guilty pleasure. And and I did a post on my social media, about kind of what drives me, and it's because I struggled. I came from nothing. I had to work very, very hard. And so, we take a lot of pride, and we, and we own our craft. You can't fake it till you make it, like I said. And when you can attach that and help someone's dreams come true and have their own home, and they don't have to rent anymore, it's such a beautiful experience to watch their eyes light up. It's really special.
I think that's kind of what sets good agents and, good people apart from others, is the clients can tell if you care about them. I think they can tell if you have their best interest. And I think that's kind of, in this market especially, it's not just about like doing your job or making money, but it's like, what can you do to help these people? Because it's like a scary time and people are stressed. And if it's your first house, like Emily, when I bought mine, it's like, I appreciated you walking me through it step by step and helping me understand, whether it's your agent or your lender.
She's genuine advice,
and you
honesty.
feel that.
Those things can't be wrong. They're
Yeah.
just right. And especially in real estate, those are the things that really shine.
Yeah.
And seeing the smiles on everyone's faces. You guys threw out condominiums. All right, so I got a lot of first-time home buyers calling me. And that educational piece is really teaching people, boy, that association fee's great. You don't have to do anything. On the other hand, it's a lot of buying power back. There's no doubt about that. And we're seeing these association fees really starting to perk up a little bit. So you got to work that into your budget. You got to have your lifestyle all figured out, because, like I said, $400 in association fees, it's something like $60,000 in buying power.
Yes. So if you are buying a condo, you need to make sure that's communicated with your lender, whether it's us or whomever, because that definitely is going to dip into what you're actually going to be able to afford. And you also want to know, what are you getting with that association? Like, what are the amenities? How does that affect you? Because on the lending side, we have to really do our due diligence with these associations to make sure that they're managing their budgets. Is there checks and balances? And I actually just had a deal fall apart at the 11th hour right before the first of the year because we needed a status letter, and they weren't giving us this information, and they're holding it back. And I was like, look, get me this letter. Well, they were holding it back because they were about to bomb everyone with this new assessment that was going to take their association from $300 to $800.
Holy.
And it was going to now affect whether that condo was going to be warrantable in the future. And we decided, because the buyer was putting down a big chunk of money as a business decision, we would do it. But I had to communicate that with my buyer, and I said, look, the seller is agreeing to pay this assessment in full because they know it's going to affect whether they're going to sell this or not.
Yeah.
But this is going to affect whether you can maybe sell it later on down the road because of all these things that are happening. And I was like, I just need to be honest with you. And she said, I don't want to do that. And so we just squashed it. Everyone was okay with it except for the seller, obviously. But that condo still hasn't sold because of that. And because I I'm not trying to kill a deal, but you have to do what's right for your client. And I
Yeah.
talked to the buyer's agent. They all understood. And now she just closed on a brand new other condo that she feels more comfortable and she actually liked better anyway. So things happen for a reason. But condos, it's a different animal. And you can't be dealing with a rookie shop when you're dealing with condos. And whether it's FHA, VA, there's definitely checks and balances that go along with that.
We see that in so much in real estate. What's meant to be is meant to be. Again, we are so bummed that we missed out on that house. The next one's always better. And so
crazy.
that's a little good advice out there to pat someone on the back and say, hey, don't worry about it. This is going to
Yeah,
work. 'cause
it's
you
okay
got
to
that
say
plan.
no.
Yeah.
A no equals a yes sometimes.
No's good. All right,
Yeah.
we got our special guest, Emily Ford, Nikki Warner, Morgan Milzo, and Ford out in the downtown Clarkston area. Of course, they do entire Metro Detroit region. And just a great, great history. And, something we're going to give kudos to your. I told you to invite your mom in anyways. I love the old timers. They got the old stories. I was probably in there knocking on your mom's door about 25 years ago or 30 years ago. Yeah, please just send me my first deal and all that. But it takes a while to get started in the industry. But once you get your feet down, you quickly realize that it's all about servicing the consumer and how to build that relationship up. Again, you sell a house, they're going to hopefully come back to you in the next couple of years. And you guys must see that quite a bit with repeat buyers.
Absolutely. Like, we're an independent, we call ourselves a boutique firm because, like Nikki said, we go the extra mile. We just really work together. We collaborate as agents within our firm with other agents. I have so many great agent friends. They're just wonderful. And, that's like you said, Harvey, that is the best part about our business, the repeat buyers. And I know a lot of you are listening right now because you're texting me, but they're just my wonderful clients. And, I work with, sometimes I work with the parents first and I work with the kids or vice versa. So that's so cool just seeing that, interaction. And I'm looking forward because it's my 21st year in real estate.
Yay.
So thank you. And I feel like I'm just getting started.
All righty. All right. We're got a little quick break here. When we come back, 248-539-9797. Nikki is going to share a whole bunch of more great stories with us. And Emily's going to chime
And we're
in
going to
too.
talk about who pays for the appraisal on an FHA flip. Let's talk about that.
We'll come back with a whole lot more. 248-539-9797. Keep it here. All righty, welcome back to the show, 944. If you're just joining us, it's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate and Business Show. I've had a fussy time here with these headphones
Me
today.
too. My ears
That's
have been.
okay.
we got
I
our
know.
ears
We'll
are all
just
messed
talk.
up.
If you can hear us, that's great. 944. We've got a great show still another 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll be following up with sports all day long. And then, Becky, next weekend, there's that Super Bowl going on in Sunday, but we're going to have a super show definitely next Saturday, and I know we're all fired up about that. So keep it here again. The Hardcore Mortgage Show, always giving you the greatest information on mortgages and real estate, and always having these top agents on there. You can reach us at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Of course, we're powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. We offer every mortgage that's available, I believe, in the United States. So definitely reach out to us, and we'll get you set up for home ownership and make it real successful.
Yeah, we're really excited. And I want to do a little plug. We take a lot of pride in our veterans and making sure that they have amazing experiences. And one of the agents that we work with, Sherry Gramlett, she's actually putting on a fundraiser, and the benefits are going to go towards the veterans. And they have the specific gym. It's called Victory Gym. It's on February 11th. Coming up, so it's a little bit of a pre-Valentine's Day. You're going to have music by the Transit Brothers, and 100% of the proceeds go towards the Victory Gym, which is, pretty much for the veterans, a safe place, and, making sure they have a good place to go and, new equipment for them. So I'll post this on my social media or Capital Mortgage Funding page. So tickets are $35. You're going to have food, entertainment, and you're going to support the vets. So let's get out there and sell this event out.
Really good. So where's that at again? February 11th?
February 11th at the Victory Gym in Brownstown.
Got it. So a little salute out there. Again, we always honor our veterans. And, of course, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. We're one of the top lenders for VA. So if you're a veteran out there, thanks for serving. And more importantly, give us a call. We'll set you up with a great pre-approval for your mortgage. It's a great way to buy zero down. And, of course, there's so many different programs out there. And that which we just definitely want to say, hey, come on in. Let us show you what you can do. Again, everyone's working with a little different budget nowadays.
Yes, budget is everything. And if you are, if you're a veteran, you earned your benefits. And, that is your right to use those. And it allows you to put zero down on a home. And, so we really take a lot of pride in that. And it helps you with your budget. Now, zero down doesn't mean zero out of pocket. You still have closing costs and prepaids and things like that. But it's a standard appraisal. I mean, it's health and safety concerns, just like FHA. And, but we have USDA, we have down payment assistance. I mean, so again, it's not soup du jour. Everyone's situation is different. But Harvey, I know that you can attest to this. It's not so much the payment that people struggle with. It's really the funds for closing.
Right,
that, so if we can identify, there's even grant programs that you can achieve when you don't have to be a first-time home buyer to get them. So call us at Capital Mortgage Funding. There's really nothing that I think that we do not offer that's going to help you have an amazing experience, but stay in your budget.
Stay in your budget. And then, Emily, it really sort of segues into what's coming up in 2023 here. Here we're nice, cozy February. March is around the corner, then April. We're going to have a lot of buyers out there, and it's going to drive up. Every house up there, your 225, your 350 listing, it's going to be $10,000, $15,000 over asking. You might have to dive into your 401k to get that house you need. But again, do it for the right reasons. We don't want you to dive into your lifetime savings unless it's to put a roof over your family's head and something that's going to benefit you down the road.
Right. And like Nikki said before, you need someone looking out for your best interest, your realtor, your lender. Like the two of you were saying, it's just so imperative that you have the right financial advice. People are afraid for different reasons. There's no reason to be afraid. It's just, there's nothing better than home ownership. So call Harvey or Becky, and they'll point you in the right direction.
There we go. We'll point them
We're
to you
going to
guys.
create certainty in uncertain times, right? We got to find the calm in the chaos. And, and people don't know where to start. And, like there used to be, I think people stopped asking this question, but it was either what's your rate and what's your APR, right? Well, the APR question always makes it gets Harvey nice and heated because an APR is arbitrary. So what I mean by that, if you call a lender and they charge an application fee, that's not included in their APR. So their closing costs are going to be higher, but their APR doesn't reflect that, right? So there's different, there's lenders out there that hide that. And if someone is going to, ask you for, we call it hostage money, like just to have a phone call with them, you need to reevaluate that conversation. And I wanted to talk about FHA flips. I got fired up on this one. So an FHA flip is when an investor buys a house and they sell it for more than 100% of what they bought it for. So for example, it's $100,000 they bought it for and they want to turn around and sell it for $201,000. Okay, that's more than 100%. In that situation, if it's within 90 to 180 days, you have to get a second appraisal.
Right.
And someone asked me like, well, who pays for it? And I'm like, okay, well, if it's not it should be the lender, no questions asked. Like at least here we take care of it.
We do that.
Technically, could a seller pay for it? Yes. But at the same time, when you are within us and the the professionalism that we're giving you, it's not even a question. We take care of that appraisal because that's just how it is. And we need to make sure that our client has the best experience, and our agents. We're not going to make you have that phone call to reach out to the other agent so they can be like, no, you're crazy.
Well, not only that, Becky, you mentioned it. FHA, Federal Housing Administration, allows 3.5% down. Again, most of our FHA buyers are working with very little money to get into a house. They don't have extra money for that.
Yep.
More importantly, it's already reaching out to the sellers and saying, hey, my buyer's FHA. And sometimes they're uneducated. They don't understand it. So maybe it doesn't sound as good as a conventional loan. But at the end of the day, again, we're just trying to get all parties so that when they show up to the closing table, it's a win, win, win. Everyone's winning. And that's important, that everyone's winning in a transaction.
You want to feel like you got something, right?
Yeah.
You want to feel like, even when you're like, hey, I closed on my house, but I got this pen. Cool, great, right?
Yeah.
But if you can go to also, but if you can
What
also
do you
go
walk
to
away with?
I know. But you can also, as a first-time home buyer, getting these down payment assistance, and some of our buyers actually get a check at closing with the down payment assistance program. So give us a call. We'll walk you through it. And I find, and I'm sure you guys can attest to this, you have buyers I'm dealing with where we didn't deal with them the first time. They used a different lender their first time they bought a house, and now it's their second home, and they have no idea what happened the first time.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, they did. No one broke it down. The education piece, education is free. And if someone is only spending 5 minutes with you on the phone and they're not circling back, you need to just reevaluate that, or just, ask the right questions. But sometimes you don't know what questions you have to ask. So we kind of answer them for you a little bit.
I might even say that mortgage bankers might be a little bit better than some of the brokers out there, just because we have an actual office that you can come in and sit down. But I'll meet you at the Tim Hortons. I'll meet you at these satellite offices that we've always done. Again, constant communication just makes for so much smoother transaction. All right, Nikki, give me a quick story here. Of course, you met Emily when you were buying your house. It's exciting. There was a pandemic going on, but you were going through some other personal matters, and it's scary. And you made that extra step. Could you tell me maybe a story recently where you had a buyer and everything just fell into place? Or I'm putting you on the spot, of course.
I know. Well, I do think right now it's super interesting because there isn't a lot of inventory on the market. So there's people that are, they're like, I would sell, but I don't know where I'm going to go. And they're looking for something specific. So I think it's even more important to, even if you don't know, if you're looking casually online and you're not seeing things that you like on the market, reach out to an agent. Emily or I would be great. But just ask, because sometimes we have connections with people that have been thinking about listing, but
Right.
but also are in the same situation. So I just in the fall had an experience where I was on the buy side, and the agent that I worked with was like, hey, it was great working with you. I have these, people that are looking for a really specific type of home. They want some land, but they want to be close to downtown Clarkston. They'd like a pool.
They'd like a unicorn.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was like a unicorn.
I was
And
gonna say
obviously there's nothing
But you
on,
had that.
there's nothing on the
that-
market.
You knew that family.
Well, so, and I, she said it, and a light bulb went off, and I have a really good friend who has, kind of been thinking about selling, and they were casually looking. So anyways, I was like, well, I kind of have someone in mind. Let me reach out, see what she's thinking. And sure enough, they, it all came together. They ended up selling them their house, and then I helped them buy another home in downtown Clarkston. But it was one of those things where it wasn't on the market. It was kind of specific, but also a lot of communication was involved and creative thinking, but it's you're able to make things happen that you might not have been able to.
You put it out there, right? They would do this if this would happen. So,
Yeah.
Emily, we had that a lot. I tell a lot of advice is there's a lot of families like that, and they can't even close on the new house until they have theirs sold.
Right.
So without making their new offer contingent, because that's not going to fly, the seller's not going to wait. You can sell your house, but leave that contingent upon you finding another one. And again, the buyers that might buy your house that you want to sell, they might need a couple months anyways. Maybe they have a lease that's up in another few months. So again, it takes this professionalism to step in front of them and say, get your house on the market, get it sold. We'll leave it contingent with that last dotted line that says until you find another house.
Right. Or we also have temporary housing that we can give to our clients, because we have rental properties that we own. We have connections with people that own apartment buildings. So we've said, hey, you need something for 3 months? We've got this.
I love that.
Yeah.
Dive into that a little bit, because no one's actually ever brought that up.
No.
Yes.
On air before. So I want to hear a little bit about that. So someone is trying to sell their house, but they're hesitant because they don't know where to go. And in the meantime, you guys offer some of your rental properties for a temporary moment in time.
Absolutely. And especially during COVID, where it was just even a bit more uncertain and people were, strapped for different reasons. They were more constricted. I had a client, for example, they were selling a house on the west side of the state, and they could not buy without selling their home. And I said, good news, I've got this rental coming up. You can move in, no worries. She was pregnant, and so it was stressful. But they moved in. Literally, we got an offer accepted. Of course, within a month on a new house. But those people had to move. But they had a house for 3 or 4 months, and I said, listen, I don't even need 30 days notice. You can tell me you're moving out in a week, no worries, and I'll move someone else in. And it
Wow.
was just wonderful. The extreme example, Becky, I moved out of my house once for a client.
I mean, what?
Okay, I mean,
That's
but,
customer service.
yeah, for sure. I mean, you're identifying a pain point and
Yeah.
you're helping them get to that, past that pain point and that just shows that you're coming from a place of empathy
Right.
because you know what it feels like to be in that in between moment. And I'm sure that came from an experience, but obviously there's no secret why you guys are 4 generations deep in real estate in your blood. And you can see that from that comment even right there. So
For sure, and like you're all saying, it's all about problem solving and like how can I help? And I don't know if I'll move out of my house again. If anyone's listening, but
Yeah.
it was for these people, and it worked out. They literally found the best house. It's like one of the best stories. They found exactly what they were looking for, and I knew they would because I saw the rating on the wall. I know this will come up, and it did. And it's just so cool that they found exactly what they were looking for. It's kind of crazy. A lot of serendipity, like Harvey said. There's a lot of things that are meant to be, and case in point.
We had the right game plan, that's for sure. We're up against another minute or so. So just really quickly with inventory, again, what are we seeing right now in the inventory across the area?
I feel like things are, just trickling on the market. Like Nikki, she was out showing a house yesterday that literally popped on the market. Like we're
Yeah.
out, we're at the ready to go show things. So things are they're starting to trickle. Like we're all saying, we're not going to see a flood of houses anytime soon, but it's all about being prepared with your lender. And when something comes on, got to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
Already. I feel
Finger
like
on the pulse.
I want to do another hour with you guys, but we can't. So we'll definitely have you back in the studio,
you.
and we'll look forward to seeing you guys up in the office in Clarkston. Of course, having you guys on is fantastic. Emily Ford, Nikki Warner, Morgan, Milzo, and Ford Realtors, of course, all across Southeast Michigan. You see their signs all over Dixie Highway and stuff. I know you guys got some huge developments going on, so we're going to look forward to our next time we have you on. All right, I'm Harvey Freed. She's Becky Alley. These guys were great. We got Pat Caputo coming up with sports. We'll see you next Saturday.